Hey, welcome everybody to Defiance Daily. I'm Maritza Giorgio filling in for Miles Taylor today. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is about the midterm, specifically Republican planning around the midterms. Now, I know a lot of folks have anxiety about what is coming up in those elections, but we have some news to talk about today that may help relieve some of that anxiety a bit because turns out the GOP's planning is kind of in this is how one person put it, kind of turning into a shit show. That's from a strategist. Their prized midterm rally that was announced just months ago has been riddled from problems from funding to scheduling. The White House itself facing a mass exodus problem as aides now begin to read the writing on the walls about what might come in November. And we have the fact that Trump has only now begun to open his PAC war chest to begin funding candidates. So we're going to talk about all of that. Before we go on, though, I want to bring in my co-host and Defiance co-founder, Xander Schultz. Hey, Xander.
Hey, Marisa, what's going on? How you doing? Nice to see
How's
everyone
it going?
today. I'm in a better mood. Jake Lang had me in like a 4-day funk of like violence and whatnot. I've gotten over it. I've decided
violence.
Yeah, I was like challenging him to a fight. I'm so out of character. I'm all about universal love. We're back. We're centered again. I'm ready to rock. Let's do it.
I miss this. You challenge him to a fight on here or on
online?
On here, like how?
On here. Dude, honestly, the idea that I've on one day's notice traveled around the world to protect refugee women. The fact that this guy is like going specifically to places to just harass refugees drives me up a wall. But it got me out of character. I don't want to lead that way. I'm ready. I'm ready to find myself again with you, Maritza, and lead with love.
Okay, if we fall back into that though, my money's on you.
Let me know.
I'm just gonna say my money's on you.
It's a safe bet.
Okay, so Xander. The Republican Party, less than 3 months from the midterms, apparently they're in need of a bit of a rescue mission because reporting shows that Republicans are increasingly treating Trump's first ever midterm convention in Dallas as their best shot at regaining some momentum before November. You'll remember he announced this a few months back and said, oh, this is going to be a first ever thing. It's going to be huge. And they're hoping for this momentum to propel them into the midterms. So when Trump first announced this thing, some Republican strategists reportedly thought it was an unnecessary distraction. Now, the president's approval ratings just at 33%. And due to mounting frustration over the economy, the war in Iran, they're hoping that 2 nights in Dallas will turn things around. We've seen this happen before. They kind of get together and there's like that mob mentality and everyone gets, it's the rah-rah thing. The only problem is the convention itself is already turning into what one Republican strategist described to Puck as a shit show. So let's walk through why some of these strategists are describing it that way, okay? These failures one at a time. So Puck is reporting that the NRCC is asking House members to pay $25,000 for themselves and a guest to attend.
Oh, the elected officials? The House members?
Yeah,
okay.
25 grand. No problem, right? 25, I mean, I just, 25.
Grifter's got a grift, baby. It's crazy.
Xander, that's the cheap option. That's the cheap option. The highest tier asks lawmakers for $100,000. The RNC also accepting corporate sponsorship money, according to Puck, with the money going through a nonprofit that does not have to disclose its donors, right? Dark money groups. This is not a normal convention either, where delegates are there conducting party business like we have seen before. It's essentially just a 2-day Trump production and cash grabs. So, the question is, and we've seen this, like we've seen certainly the president's endorsement work in some races, but we've also seen it backfire in some races, especially this cycle. So if you're a Republican running in one of these swing districts and you have the president sitting at 33%, are you paying 25 grand to go align with him and stand next to him in this moment?
I don't think so. I think I found a picture, an illustration of what Trump's asking people to do, which is hitch their wagon to the worst possible horse to hitch it to and pay him for the honor.
Let's not take it out on this poor little horse. He looks like a nice guy. He looks like a nice guy.
I'm sure the horse is nice, but if you're looking for RPMs, if you're trying to get somewhere quickly and powerfully, not what you want to do. And it's interesting, Trump is asking for you to pay for the right to do that. It's honestly hilarious. I don't know. They're stuck. I just had an interesting podcast with Joe Walsh today about, even though his approval rating is low, the command he still has over these people's voters. And so you're kind of in this catch-22 position if you're a Republican congressperson, where you're like, I think they literally, it sounds ridiculous, but at the 33% approval rating, but I think they still have to do it because of both the party control and the Republican voter persuasion that he still has.
It is so interesting. And I think we will see really how strong that persuasion is this November, because we know midterms are different, or I'm sorry, primaries are different than actual general elections.
100%.
And we see the most extreme, diehard supporters come out. And so that's kind of skews things both on the left and the right. So it'll be interesting to watch. But listen to this. Reuters contacted 45 Republican, why can't I say that today? Republican campaigns.
It's just a bad word these days. That's why it feels like you're cussing when you say Republican.
Not rolling off the tongue. Republican campaigns and competitive races to ask if they plan to go. Only one gave a substantive answer. Michigan Republican Tom Barrett said, nah, I'm going to skip it. He's going to stay home to campaign.
So much for my analysis.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. There will be, I bet Mike Lindell will be there. No doubt. Mike Lindell who will be there. Is
his campaign still live? How's that going? How's that contest?
It's over. It's over.
Okay.
But get this. I mean, invitations went out late to this thing after some lawmakers already committed to other events. I mean, their schedules are packed. Reuters found a state party chair had already actually returned many of his delegation seats because members just couldn't make this schedule work, right? And the convention, we should mention, is Wednesday, September 9th, Thursday, September 10th. Those are also, Xander, I don't know if you've heard of this thing. It's called the National Football League.
Mm-hmm. Hard time to get turnout, and they're in Dallas.
First 2 nights of the NFL season, Patriots Seahawks play Wednesday night, 49ers Rams play Thursday night. And Doug Landry posted this: I do not envy the staffers who will have to tell Trump that they're not able to fill the arena or have anyone watching at home because they scheduled both nights of the midterm convention directly against the opening games of the NFL season.
I would love to be on the wall, fly on the wall for those like Emperor has no clothes moments, like his big fair. I think your assessment's dead on though, Maritza, going back to what you said about the generals are different than the primaries. So if you remember, you and I think maybe a couple months ago, we're talking about how Republicans were getting blown out in special elections. And then all of a sudden Trump had a lot of sway in these primary elections. And I was a little bit confused by it. And I think you grounded me again to remind me, well, one is a primary.
Wait, I what? I grounded
you ground it. It's almost like you that's your brand in some ways.
I love it.
You grounded me in the fact that you're right. We were dealing with a primary before, and generals are very different. Generals, by the way, in a midterm where, you already have the executive branch are always freaking hard, right? Like, incompetence aside, it's always really challenging. So,
also,
I also have a lot of I'm rooted in optimism, and it would be really nice if they had a bad midterm too. So I'm somewhat compromised in this assessment.
And historically, midterms are seen as a referendum on, the current administration, the current party in control. And it's, often the party in control does not do so great in the midterms. That's kind of an expected skew anyway. Okay, so we're going to talk about this convention a little bit more. Both Vance's speech on Wednesday of that week, September 9th, and Trump's speech on Thursday, September 10th, will be up against those 2 season opener games. And it wraps up the night before the 25th anniversary of 9/11, meaning that lawmakers risk being photographed partying with donors and Republican elites immediately before one of the most solemn anniversaries in our country's history, right? One of these moments that we mark that is somber and not celebratory by any means. It's also, Xander, the start of the school year. Again, bad optics, aka, for the family first crowd. So what are your thoughts? Like, do you think that this will come together at the last minute and it'll gel and we'll see a big kumbaya moment for the GOP in Texas? Or you think that this is going to backfire?
What's my other option?
Backfire. Backfire.
Other option. Okay, got it. By the way, 9/11, not even solemn for Donald Trump on 9/11. Forget an anniversary. If you remember, he was marveling that 40 Wall Street, which was his building, was now the tallest in Manhattan after the Twin Towers fell. So wasn't even solemn. It went as it was happening for Donald Trump. I think he called it amazing. There was a word like that thrown in there.
He likes that word.
Mm-hmm.
He likes that word.
Interesting use of it, nonetheless.
Well, if the organization of this convention is not organized, the opposition sure is, because a coalition of Dallas groups are fast at work. They're organizing protests during the convention. They're already applying for permits here. They are arranging legal support in case anyone probably gets arrested. They're preparing protests, all kinds of activism. They have an Eventbrite event already published for September 10th to march down to the convention center while Republicans are inside. So big mass counter event being planned right now.
Yeah, I don't want to scoop us, but also something at least being discussed right now is the Bookmobile being in Dallas for that moment as well. So, and Bookmobile, unlike some of the other kind of protests, I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan is Miles and I down in Dallas or around there somewhere. So I don't know. I don't want to scoop us. We're talking about it, but I think both Miles and I have a deep desire for that to be the case.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess that's your tease, folks. Stay tuned for more on that. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not just Republican campaigns looking at November getting nervous here. People inside Trump's own administration feeling a little shifty right now. Politico is reporting that a wave of senior officials now heading for the exit doors. As one former Trump official told Politico, some aides are actually looking at the polls and seeing the writing on the wall. And according to the Wall Street Journal, White House lawyers are already briefing cabinet secretaries and senior aides about the subpoenas they might receive and how to respond if Dems win control. Now, it's not unusual to see turnover around the midterms. Like I just said, it's usually a referendum on the current party in power. This, though, seems a bit accelerated. Even for people who are too low level to be subpoenaed, staffers are still weighing whether it makes sense to jump ship now while their careers still hold some value in the private sector and kind of move on now before this all happens. Because if Democrats do take control, stragglers could be looking at 2 years of investigations and, subpoenas, like we mentioned. So let's look at who's leaving and what they leave this president, this administration exposed to. Okay, so President Trump losing his guardrails in communications. We already know Caroline Leavitt leaves at the end of this month, although I think I read she's going to go with MAGA Inc., so she'll still be in the orbit. James Braid, though, is a top liaison to Congress, okay? He's the person responsible for managing that White House relationship with Capitol Hill. He's leaving on September 30th. A lot of people looking at that going, well, hold on, because, there's been strife between the president and lawmakers on Capitol Hill. He's, remember that big Senate luncheon where the Republican senators were screaming and yelling because he wanted the Save America Act passed. I mean, there's been friction absolutely here. So James,
I feel like the luncheon screaming is like the new thoughts and prayers after gun violence. It's like, guys, we don't give a shit about you screaming at the luncheon. Find a spine, do something. If you don't like what's going on, you have the power. Don't look to other people.
Yeah, but I do want to see video of the screaming at the lunch.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
I do want to see that. Okay, so when we look at the judicial side of things, Politico specifically describes Trump losing 2 legal hands as he prepares for a Democratic takeover. Dave Warrington is the senior White House counsel. He's the guy literally responsible for ensuring all of the presidential actions and policies follow the law.
Might be important. Might be an important skill set.
Also, maybe we need to check on how many of those have been challenged in court.
He might not be that good at his job, actually.
Yeah, like footnote.
He might
footnote
he
there.
might need to leave anyways. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Ed
Onward.
Martin, we've heard a lot about. He's
Yeah.
the administration's current pardon attorney. I mean, Liz Oyer, our friend, has talked a lot about him and some of the pardons and the pay to play that we've seen on that timeline. And then, hold on, I'm looking for Mercedes. She's writing a note. Okay.
No.
Sorry. So we have the pardon attorney. And then we have some exits when it comes to defense.
Mhm.
So what do you think about like what we've gone through already?
Here's my recommendation to them. It's not enough to jump ship. There's someone I know that not only jumped shipped, but became part of the defiance. Miles Taylor. You know who still has a career after Trump won? Miles Taylor. You guys have seen the inside, and people will forgive a lot when it comes to people executing a job and being mandated by the president of the United States to do things if you join the defiance. So if any of you are interested in a career beyond this moment, neutrality probably not going to be rewarded. Stepping up for democracy, fervently and powerfully, enjoying the resistance, people might give you a pass. We're pretty forgiving if you jump in and try to make up for your sins and fight like hell against what's happening. So that's my recommendation for this cast of characters.
I struggle with this one. a little bit because having been through a layoff, right? I understand what it's like to have a career path and a career goal, and all of a sudden things feel like, oh my gosh, I've dedicated my life to this. What am I going to do next? There's that part of it. Second, people really struggle with this idea of, well, I could go, but right now, if I stay in my job, at least I can provide some guardrail, like Miles did for a very long time, right? There were people who were considered guardrails in that first administration who stayed in specifically for that reason, because if they left, who would replace them, right? And they would be replaced with loyalists. So I see that side of things too, that there's a need for people to stay in these jobs.
And we've seen it be valuable. There's been so many whistleblowers, this administration. Like we know there are people working for Trump that have gave us some of the most important narratives about what's going on with ICE, what's going on with the boat strikes, what's going on with their future plans around birthright citizenship and other things. So like it to your point, it's not like we're not trying to give them a pass. Like that has been a very important part of this resistance against Trump is insiders and career folks who didn't leave and quietly resisted from the inside.
And we see, like, I've talked about this quite a bit, but reading Regime Change with Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, I mean, that book and the reporting in that book is so reliant on leaks. I mean, there's just no way that there aren't inside people in the close circle who are leaking, because there's no way we would hear some of the stories that were reported in that book. So, that's another thing is that balance, right, of people who remain in the job to try to do good. So
if you're not doing that yet, do that. If you've been doing that, at least bring receipts so we can believe you when you come out. Like Miles was the author of Anonymous. It was indisputable once he revealed himself, and so that'll help. That'll help us come.
Or was he? Have we seen receipts? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, Miles. Just kidding. I want proof.
Every time Miles is off the show, he catches strays so bad.
Do you know what happens when you're off the show?
Do I get scared? I don't.
He rakes you, man. He rakes you through the coals. So yeah, it's
especially bad because I don't think Miles has a particularly good grasp of sarcasm. Like sometimes his sarcasm just sounds mean. But I know his intention. I love the guy. I know where he's at.
Oh yeah, no, we love you, Miles. We love you. Okay, lastly, in the Defense Department, Ron Muller, he's the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Strategic Readiness at the Pentagon. He's going to be gone in 2 weeks. And already, I mean, we've seen chaos at the Pentagon, right? We saw all of those like legacy media outlets basically kicked out, with their permanent passes because they wouldn't sign the agreement that the Pentagon wanted them to sign about, getting everything basically okayed by this administration before they went to press and more. And, they're facing increasing scrutiny by the day about, what's actually happening with the war in Iran, with our troops, with plans, with ceasefires, with negotiations, all of it, right? All of it. So all of this leaves some question marks as to where we go from here, who will replace these people, and if there's a kind of a larger strategy at play.
It's better to leave Louis XVI before the revolution than after. That's all I'll say. There was one group of people who stuck with Louis. It didn't go well for them. Find the courage now, friends.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens. I mean, again, I co-host Grounded with John Tester, and he will always say that if you assume you're going to win an election, you're assuming wrong, because you can't make any assumptions. Like, this stuff is unpredictable in a lot of ways, and you have to fight and work hard and earn your votes, right? So we know that it is expected Democrats are going to do better than they have in these midterms. But it's also, as our friends at the Cook Political Report have reported, it's not a foregone conclusion. There are some races that people are watching. So let's talk about this. If Dems do take the House, as is predicted, we know that Robert Garcia would likely take over the House Oversight Committee. And he says that his top priority here would be Trump corruption and Trump family corruption. And he wants to actually question Trump's inner circle, like the people we've already talked about, like Susie Wiles, like Stephen Miller, like Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. And he wants to look at Trump family business dealings and any federal contracts that involve the family. Also important to note, you mentioned the bookmobile earlier. He also wants public Epstein hearings.
As is 92% of America, or whatever percentage that is. Thank you, Democrats, for getting aligned with the general public. Well done. Hakeem Jeffries, those are pretty good priorities just for the party, by the way. It doesn't need to be the House Oversight Committee. You can follow Garcia's lead. That's what literally everyone is looking for, is to take on corruption. By the way, not just Trump family corruption. If you want to win a majority, if you want to govern the people's government and get people excited, just corruption in general. That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a bit, because there's actually polling that shows like more than 90% of voters care deeply about government corruption. Okay, so Jamie Raskin, if the Democrats win the House, would likely lead Judiciary Committee. Jamie Raskin says his number one focus would be alleged bribery, kickbacks, and financial corruption. And he wants to investigate what he calls Trump's, quote, fraudulent and vindictive prosecutions, including those cases against our favorite seashell artist, James Comey, and Letitia James.
I like that as a post-career for him. If he got into seashell art right now, he would crush. I think he would do really well. We should see if he could make some pieces. That's a great idea, actually. As fundraisers.
James Comey, if you're listening, start collecting those shells, baby. Go, the best shells I've ever seen is after a hurricane. Go to the beaches after a hurricane comes through. Like, they're just everywhere. Just make seashell art. I think, this is a great idea. You can get started like an Etsy shop.
The Defiance Gala, we will fundraise by selling James Comey seashell art. Let's recruit him in. I think it's a great idea. Well done, Maritza.
Xander, this was a joint effort. This is a joint thought process, and you guys got to experience it live with us. Congrats. Okay, so other committees are also preparing too. Okay, the Iran war, of course, among the potential targets here. What the heck's going on with that? Plus, what we're seeing continuously now, still with ICE and other actions by federal law enforcement. That's also on the table here. So these are some priorities. You mentioned Hakeem Jeffries, like, hey, time to get serious here. These are priorities.
You can just leave also. That's the other option. Let someone more serious take over. I'm more in the leave camp now.
Do you do you think though that these priorities and these Democrats saying this is what we're going to focus on, do you think that this is going to be a winning message for them?
Yes, because this is what people are talking about. You know what's fucking crazy, Maritza, about the times we're living in? That the illegal war and the occupation of American cities were like the follow-on bullets for the issues we're facing. But yes, corruption. But I think the mistake is if it's only Trump corruption. If it's only Trump corruption, it will seem partisan. We trust people when they're willing to go at their own. We trust people when they're willing to go at their own. They don't seem like they're playing for sides. They're playing for us. And we need to see that, because some people look at the billions of dollars Trump made as the worst grift in history. And some people, and I've said this before, look at our military budget, the totality of it, and see it as the worst grift in history, and just see Trump as grabbing a little something for himself off the top. But they believe other people are also grabbing either money or power off the top, of this system. And so, that's my, I guess, most important advice to the Democrats.
Yeah, no party is immune to this. I mean, I don't have to remind you probably that in the past few years, we had a pretty big news story about a Democratic lawmaker literally who had gold bars. Like, who has gold bars? That's like a Scrooge McDuck thing. Like, we don't have gold bars hanging around. So, yeah, I think people care deeply about that. Most people
Sunil makes a great point, too, about affordability. I just saw Sunil in the chat. He said, how about affordability? Of course. And like, if we can't, there is such an opportunity to talk about how these things merge, like the claws that corporations have in our system that have driven the type of inequality that have left people with almost nothing. And as we move into the AI era and all of these other, increasing inequality that we're seeing, both affordability and getting our arms around the power of those people that are creating the conditions we're living in is really, really important. It's a great point, Sunil.
We just want to touch, you talk about House leadership, and we did see, while Democrats are preparing to investigate all of this and the corruption, Hakeem Jeffries is also kind of having open discussions with some of the people that they're talking about, right? New York Times is reporting that Jeffries recently met privately with Jared Kushner in New York. Again, the president's son-in-law. Kushner is one of Trump's top outside advisors. And, if the Dems take control of the House, Jeffries would likely become speaker. So apparently these two discuss potential areas where Democrats in the White House, the administration, could work together and move forward. Kushner even suggested that Jeffries meet with Susie Wiles. An interesting wrinkle, though, Jared Kushner is also one of the people that Robert Garcia says he wants to question if Democrats take control of oversight. Now, Hakeem Jeffries came out and said pretty strongly, like, hey, of course I met with them, because when people ask for a meeting, I take the meeting, but we're not going to back down. What's your take, Sander?
Hakeem Jeffries is quickly turning into like the Neville Chamberlain of this moment. Do you remember that story of Neville Chamberlain going down to talk to Hitler? And he's like, that's enough, buddy. Just don't do any more. That was pretty bad what you did so far, when I think they took Czechoslovakia, or part of Czechoslovakia. And he came back as a hero in England. It was like, I gave him a good stern talking to. It's going to be fine. Then, like,
I'm really disappointed in you.
He said, we don't like what you're up to, genocidal maniac. So I think Hakeem might, go down in history like Neville Chamberlain.
We'll see how it plays out, right? I mean, again, and we're going to talk about this in a moment with our guest, but so much of where we are at in this moment and the divide that we see is because of money in politics, right? And that people aren't working together. And at the same time, there's a moment to be met here. So we'll see how this all plays out, but he's certainly getting a lot of heat for this meeting. So Xander, we've spent this show talking about Republicans scrambling ahead of November, right? There's another part of their midterm strategy that we haven't talked about yet, and that is money. Speaking of Scrooge McDuck, we're talking about money. Donald Trump, I don't have to tell you, has a staggering amount of it, even more so now after almost 2 years being back in the Oval Office. A few months back, we covered how the GOP was growing frustrated as Trump's MAGA Inc. PAC stayed sitting on its $400 million war chest. Well, now we are starting to see him deploy this. In South Carolina, MAGA Inc. poured more than $800,000 into last-minute calls and texts to help Darlene Graham in today's Republican Senate runoff. This is all happening, by the way, as the rules governing money in our elections are just getting a little bit looser, even looser than they have been. So let's bring in somebody who spends a lot of time following exactly where this money comes from,
all right,
what it buys, and how we, the people, Hey, have you heard that before? We the people can combat it. So with us, we have President of End Citizens United, Tiffany Muller. Hey, Tiffany, welcome.
All right.
Hey, so great to
Hey,
be here with
Tiffany.
both of you. How are ya?
Doing good. Thanks for being here.
We are glad to
Thanks
see
for
you.
having me on.
Okay, so Tiffany, we know that Trump has this like massive war chest, right? $90 million of it received from groups, dark money groups that don't disclose their donors. So the Supreme Court has also struck down yet another restriction on political spending recently. So let's just start with kind of this like technical campaign finance jargon, the terms that we're looking at. And really, if we break it down, like, how screwed are we when it comes to money in politics right now?
Such a good opening question. On a scale of very screwed to kind of screwed. Tell us, Tiffany.
Are campaign finance laws a farce or an absolute trash shit show? And, really take your pick, right? It is really bad. Okay, let's start with what you already said. Trump has more than $400 million that he has accumulated since becoming president again. It is more than any president has ever amassed, especially a lame duck president. And he understands that to keep being able to act with impunity, to keep lining his own pockets, to keep putting all of us at risk with his national security disasters, he is going to need to try to hold on to the two branches of Congress, the House and the Senate. So we are now seeing him start to roll this out, as you said, $800,000 in the South Carolina runoff. But I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're 70 days or so out from the election, and he is massively underwater across the country, right? His favorability ratings, I was looking at a competitive red to blue seat just the other day, and he is 25 points underwater in one of these must-win seats for either party to gain control of the House. So I don't think that there is a sheer amount of money that can dig him out of the hole that he has dug himself. People are at home, right? Like they are feeling it in their utility bills. They're feeling it at the gas pump. They're feeling it at the grocery store. And they know that all he cares about is lining his own pocket. However, that's a lot of money for any of these races to try to withstand. So that's number one, Trump. Number two, you said our campaign finance laws are getting worse, and you're absolutely right. The Supreme Court that's packed with Trump loyal MAGA Republicans that big money bought just undid even more campaign finance guardrails that we had in place. And look, basically, people are calling this Citizens United 2.0. And it's because it's one more way that billionaires and big special interests can funnel even more money into these races at the expense of working families. And basically, they said party committees can spend any amount they want to prop up a candidate. And so rather than having to go out and meet voters where they're at or hold a town hall or like go raise money from their actual constituents, they can just hide in their basement and have the party committees bail them out and just run negative TV ads all day. And that's what we're going to see more of. And that's what the American voters are so sick and tired of.
Okay, I found a picture of Trump with his war chest, the lame duck president. He looks very satisfied with himself.
Oh, look at that.
I think
I'm very frustrated. If I'm going to be honest, like one thing I've kind of been shifting my attention away from is anger at Trump and pointing that anger back at us, the resistance that has failed to build like a supermajority coalition around such obvious grifts that are taking place. And at a time where, to your point, like the economics for everyday people, and last I checked, there are more working people than not working people in America, they're suffering. What needs to change for us to be able to go from 51-49 to 60-40 to 70-30 in making that case?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. And, right before I hopped on, you all were talking about affordability and you were talking about corruption. And I think too often people think about these as two separate buckets rather than being linked, which we have seen how they're really linked, right? And the corruption is actually driving up the prices on people. And you can see it. Let's take healthcare, right? Billionaires and corporate special interests get a $4.9 trillion tax handout, but 15 million Americans got kicked off their healthcare to pay for it, right? Those are policy choices. That is corruption at work and corruption impacting people's day-to-day lives. And so I think we need to do a better job about talking about those interconnectedly. And that helps, I think, bring together people from across party aisles. Democrats, Republicans, Independents are tired of the strain on their pocketbook and are tired of the corruption. And they actually see that as linked. Look, how do we actually begin to get really what we're talking about is how do you get Republicans back on board with putting guardrails in place, disclosure and transparency and limits? Because right now they are blocking all of these efforts. And I think there are a couple of ways that you have to do it. Number one, first and foremost, we have to send them a message at the ballot box. They need to be more scared that their donors are going to hold them accountable to being sold out to big money than they are of the big money coming in against them, right? Because doesn't vote. And we have seen over and over this cycle that the people can beat back the big money, but we have to basically shellac them at the ballot box so that we begin to change those incentives. Number two, we have got to actually get them.
Tiffany, sorry, just to pause you for a second. We also need candidates that aren't owned by big money. That's been one of the challenges is it's hard to campaign against this because so many of our own candidates are also compromised, maybe not to the same extent, or they're not directly benefiting in the same way, but they're not, going outside of the Bernies of the world, going without PAC money or other types of support too. So it's just leadership development and a new bench. Yeah, tell me the good news. Tell me the good news. I want good news.
This is the reformer cycle, right? This is such an exciting cycle. We have an unrigged Washington campaign going on. It's three simple things. It is a stock trading ban. So no stock trading by members of Congress or folks in the executive branch. Don't take any corporate PAC money and end the dark money. And we have 280 candidates running on that across the country, right? We are going to send a wave of these new people who aren't taking a dime of this money to Congress, and they are going to change the way Congress operates. And that's what matters first. Who we send to Congress matters, whether they are Democrat or Republican. If they don't understand the scale and size and scope of the change needed, we're not going to get this done. And so that's what we're working on every single day across the country.
That's great. Fantastic. Sorry, I cut you off though. That was one leg of the strategy.
Know where I was going next. Keep the questions going.
Okay, so Tiffany, ECU's Education Fund did this polling that shows more than 90% of voters call corruption in Washington a serious problem. And you talk about this, that the voters are tired of this corruption. They're tired of this. So have you already seen that this is a winning strategy for candidates? Like you mentioned, the 280 that have taken this unrigged Washington pledge. Is that message going to be kind of the resonating message this cycle that you think stands out from the rest?
Yeah, we are seeing it across the country. Candidates really lean into it. And here's the really good news too. While we have had lots of intra-party fighting over the last 2 years, and some of it necessary, whether you are in a rural area, an urban area, moderate or progressive, we have seen candidates take up this mantle of reform, reject corporate PAC money, and put these issues front and center. And part of the reason is because you see voters really rewarding candidates who are reform minded. And so we are seeing candidates, I'm headed to Iowa where they are centering it. And I've been in deep blue states and in primaries where it has become the message of the cycle. It is polling number one or number two in kind of everybody's polling. In our own polling, rising prices is number one. Corruption is a close second. And again, it's because voters actually connect these two back together. And so what we are seeing, is folks rolling out reform agendas. How will they go to Congress and fight corruption? How are they going to clean it up? And most importantly, how are they going to actually create a government that delivers for people again, that is responsive to people again, right? For so long, Congress was actually representing people and was a check on just outsized corporate power, right?
Yes.
And what we see now, whether it is in AI or big pharma or tech or oil and gas or everything else, is those corporate special interests being able to run amok because Congress isn't doing their job, right? And they're not holding them accountable. And so you send people who aren't sold out to them, and you start to change that.
I wrote down on this, and now it's completely useless because it's in my handwriting, so it doesn't matter. But I wrote down, like, connecting those two, corruption and affordability. How do you create affordable conditions? Antitrust laws that force the market to compete. Corruption stopping us from having good antitrust laws. Regulation. Corruption is stopping us from regulating and stopping price gouging. And then public offerings, alternative public offerings to what the private sector is offering that forces the private sector to compete with the public offering. We don't have any of those three. And so the affordability, to your point, the affordability and corruption.
Can I throw in a fourth one too?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for 3 seconds, so you probably have more than me. Go ahead.
We need to strengthen our labor movements again.
Yes.
We need to be pro
more leverage. You're right. The public offering is really. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we have got to be able to actually strengthen workers to be able to force companies into actually caring and investing in workers again. Look, here's the thing, like what we're talking about isn't rocket science. Our country has done it before. Coming out of the Gilded Age, we went into the progressive era. And basically those 4 things we just talked about, with the addition of constitutional amendments, which I also think we need to relearn how to do in this country, is how we rebuilt after the Gilded Age. It's how we put checks and balances in place that got us through the next 100 years of our democracy. It's how we put guardrails on the concentration of wealth and power in this country that had crashed our economy and crashed our democracy in the late 1800s and early 1900s.
Anytime where it looks like now.
We know how to do
Anytime
this.
wealth inequality looks like right now, it crashes. It's not a good
That's
sign.
right. It's not good. It's going to hurt everybody. We have gotten out of this before. We can again. It is not easy, and it takes all of us working together. But I firmly believe, like what we are talking about, we have done it before as a country. We can do it again.
Can I ask you one question about like working together then on that front? Because I think the work. What's your plan called? Sorry, that people are signing up for, the anti-corruption.
Unrig Washington. Unrig Washington.
How do we get that to be the scarlet letter that like everyone looks for? Whether you've made the pledge or you've not, do you need a like right-leaning partner nonprofit that also is making sure that people check for Unrig Washington? How do we go from like it being one of many things people are looking at to it's literally on the menu? Like calories are on the menu. When you go to vote, it's on there. Or did they make the Unrig Washington plan or not? Is it right there for everyone to see?
I love that. Well, I think platforms like this help, right? The more that we get the word out, the more that people know that they should be asking their candidates and their members of Congress about this. So for everyone watching, go to unrigwashington.org and find out if your candidate or member has signed up for it. And if they haven't, ask them why not, right? Like it turns out that that public pressure and that grassroots energy really, really matters. On the Republican side, we are starting to see some Republicans play out a similar dynamic in their primaries. The more that we can have Republicans coming to the same place of like not taking corporate PAC money, standing up for people, the better. And so, yes, we need Republican organizations and Republican voters also holding their members accountable. But we have seen a couple actually take the no corporate PAC pledge in their primaries and use it to help win in their primaries. And I agree with you. It's good. It is good news for democracy. And it is absolutely what we need in order to get this passed and to get, to have it be back what it was before. These issues were always bipartisan. The fact that they are partisan right now is because Republicans think they need the big money and they need to suppress voting rights and they need the gerrymandering to win. We need to make these bipartisan efforts again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask you that. Are there any Republicans, that are kind of like anti-corruption curious?
Yes, and some
That's
of them
what-
will surprise you. I like that. Anti-corruption curious. Welcome to the family. We are broad. Believe it or not, one of them is Josh Hawley in the Senate. He has flirted with these issues a time or two and has talked about everything from stock trading ban to overturning Citizens United to, at one point, I'm not sure if he's still upholding it, but he had said he wasn't going to take any corporate PAC money. It was because he viewed corporations as too woke. But, you know, they're
To each their own. However you get there.
circle. Exactly, the circle can circle. But we saw it play out in a couple of primaries this cycle as well. So, yeah, I actually think we're starting to see it in both, again, across the party aisles.
I really not. I have this in my head now that this thing needs to be on the ballot. Like, I don't know how we do that, gang. I don't know if it's possible, but that, like, if you sign that pledge or not, like, needs to be there for everyone to see.
You get like a little
Good
blue check.
housekeeping stamp.
Yes, you need your Twitter cert validated check. Like, if you sign this freaking pledge, man, that's wonderful work you're doing, Tiffany.
Well, thank you. And for anyone watching who wants to find out more, you can go to incitizensunited.org or go to unrigwashington.org. And we'd love to have you in this fight because, again, the only way we beat the money is with the people and with all of us working together.
I'm going to also put the link to this polling in the chat as well, folks, because you know, we'll also show you kind of where people are, and they've broken it down by some battleground states too. What's so interesting to me is that that voters trust Republicans and Democrats equally, pretty much, when it comes to actually cleaning up corruption. So there's work to do.
And by trust them, it means they don't trust either party.
Right.
The neither is bigger than either party.
Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah.
Yeah. Pox on all your houses. You all are sold out.
You all stink. You all stink. Yeah. Thank you for that
too,
clarification.
Which actually is really important because then whoever is trusted on it when it comes election day is who's going to win at the end of the day.
100%.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Tiffany Muller with End Citizens United, thanks so much for joining us.
Great to see you both.
Okay, Xander. It's time.
I know where we're heading. Oh, it's a tough ending
It's
to the
time.
show. Yeah.
We suffered another loss. This one hurts. Like this one really hurts. I've already shed some tears over this today in the Defiance. We are going to honor one of the greats. Okay. In case some of you didn't even know, my dog's name is Dolly P. Okay.
Was it really? Dang,
Dolly P is my dog's name. We suffered a huge loss because today country music legend Dolly Parton died at the age of 80 years old. A lot of people may know her just for her melodies and her kind of iconic style, but she was so much more than just a voice or an entertainer. She was a defiant badass. Okay. So let's just start from the beginning. I have a feeling we're taking you to school about Dolly Parton, Xander. Is that true? Am I right about that?
I am going to school. Mercedes taught me the first session. I think she's passed the baton to you to teach me more.
Yes, we are going to continue this lecture series because we need to know and honor the icon that was Dolly Parton. Okay. So for starters, Dolly made her career from the hills of Appalachia, where her parents were so poor they actually had to pay the doctor in oatmeal for delivering her. Okay. No matter that, after making her way to the stage as a girl singer on the Porter Wagner show, she actually had her breakout when she defied stereotypes and broke away from her male counterpart to pursue a solo career. In the 1970s, this was huge. Most women in the country music scene were defined solely by the men who rarely gave them the spotlight beyond them. Okay. Do I have your attention, Xander? Are you following along?
I'm in class. I'm just sitting attentively.
Okay. So Dolly made a name for herself, not only through her talent, but her unwillingness to conform to traditional beauty standards. Okay. She wore what she wanted. She acted how she wanted, even up until 80 years old. Now, as she amassed a fortune, she didn't just sit on it like some people we know.
Some or most. Unfortunately, the fortune game.
Truly most. She turned it directly back to her community and beyond.
Very
Okay.
cool.
She opened Dollywood. She transformed the local economy of the East Tennessee Appalachian region, and she became the largest employer in that county. Dollywood even became a bit of a gay mecca. When Christians pressed Dolly on the support of that community, she clapped back saying, quote, "As far as the Christians, if people want to pass judgment, they're already sinning. The sin of judging is just as bad as any other sin they might say somebody else is
Nice.
committing. I try to love everybody." And Dolly could get away with that with a wink and a smile, and everyone still loved her, right? No matter
Mhm.
who you were. She stood for trans rights by speaking out against the anti-transgender bathroom laws in North Carolina in 2016. She responded to the wave of anti-transgender laws in Tennessee with this, quote, "I just want everybody to be treated good. They cannot help that any more than I can help being Dolly Parton." Pretty amazing. So while
Wow.
Dolly solidified herself as a queer icon, she was also a fighter for our country in some of its darkest times. In 2020, she put forward $1 million to help fund the Moderna vaccine. She used her platform to urge people to get out there and get their shots. And finally, one of her greatest accomplishments was the Imagination Library. She gifted more than 300, listen to this, 332 million books to
Holy cow.
children from birth to
Whoa.
age 5, regardless of the family's income. My son was part of the Imagination Library when he was a baby. Books came in the mail every single month. This is even in the face of GOP states working to pull funding from the program in Trump's second term. So she has done so much for this world. I really believe we are all better for it. I am so sad. I was so sad to see this news come across. Like I said, my dog's name is Dolly P. Dolly Parton had just one of the greatest, biggest hearts of anyone on this planet, especially when you consider all the fame and money thrown her way. She never, ever let it get to her head.
Wow. So you named your dog after Dolly Parton. What did she mean? You're a powerful modern woman leading in the political fight now. What did she mean to you personally? You did a great job memorializing her, but I wonder which piece of her really gravitated you to her.
Well, Dolly, I mean, again, she was spicy. She was feisty. She was spicy. She was who she was, and she didn't apologize for it. But what I love about her is that she led with kindness. Always. Kindness was always paramount. And, you know, she didn't apologize for who she was. And she made this, she was just such an inspiration, especially for working women, right? Where women have had to like fight and maneuver to get to the top, and she made it to the top. And again, she didn't, it's not that she was a diva in the best, kindest way, right? She wasn't mean about it, but she also knew who she was, and she didn't take any shit from anybody. And she was just, she will be so missed. She will be so missed.
That's really cool. Also, you know, it's interesting hearing her journey. Like when we fight for some of us to be included, it ends up being a fight for all of us because we're making the argument that this place should be built for all of us to succeed. And so interesting, kind of like Cher, you know, where it's like it was this feminist thing that then the gay community really gravitated towards because you're making the same argument. You're making the argument that, hey, maybe I don't look like, you know, the white guy that's been successful here so far, but I belong here too, and I can succeed here too. And it's just another, I think, validation point as I hear her story of like the reason it's so important for us to fight for all of us. It makes the case that we're trying to make.
Yeah. And again, she put her money where her mouth was. Like somebody said she exuded love, and it's so true. And, you know, she knew exactly who she was, and she was not, like I said, apologetic. I did post a video on social media and on our Substack page because I am a big Brandi Carlile super fan, right? She's one of my goats. And I've been to several Brandi concerts, and there was a concert in 2019. She came out and she was solo. She wasn't with the twins, and she was here in Montana. And she told this story because she had this whole album where famous artists covered her songs. And Dolly Parton was going to cover the story, which is probably Brandi Carlile's most famous iconic song, right? And Brandi told this story about how, she was in her 70s at the time, and she said, well, hey, if you want me to lower the octave a bit, let me know. And Dolly Parton wrote back and was like, listen, don't lower this. I'm going to Dollyize it. And basically Brandi said that was Dolly's way of saying, I'm going to school your ass. And like that, she was spicy, but again, she led with kindness, and we should all try to do that. We can love people, we can fight for people, and we can be in this defiance, and we can be great warriors for justice while also staying kind and caring about everybody.
That's how we started the show. I came on saying that I need to reform and get back to love and kindness.
Yeah.
That's how we're ending it. That came full circle. That's great.
We're not going to fight. No fist fights.
Speaking of defiant ones, we have some anthill updates, everyone. Thank you, the Defy Ants, for continuing to grow the anthill, as we lovingly call our community. Oh, there's a great picture of Dolly Parton. But along with Dolly, also in defiance, Nana P, Tanya, and is that FDD? The guy's small on my screen for a second. FDD, thank you for bringing a friend into the defiance. You've achieved the rank of scout. Thank you for working. And for all of you, go to defiance.news/leaderboard to get your referral code and send it out to Maritza. Who's the prompt today? Who should people send their referral code to? I'm going to do it.
Send it to the first 3 people you see posting tributes to Dolly Parton on your social media.
Yeah. They're in a defiant mood. They're honoring a defiant one. Have them join the fight. That's a great prompt. I love it. I'm gonna do just that as soon as we get off the air here. All right, gang. I think that's it. I think that's all for today. Do we have any Q&A? Can I now? Mercedes is talking to us via text. Big news for tomorrow. Oh yeah, we can announce. Tomorrow's gonna be freaking awesome, gang. All right, so we're gonna have the Hunter Biden on tomorrow to open our show, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We're going to talk corruption. We're going to talk about Hunter and this new chapter he's been leading here. It's been awesome seeing him on Substack. So Hunter Biden joining us at the top of the show tomorrow. And then because it's Wednesday, it's our weekly mission briefing, and we're going to talk about faith organizing. The church, specifically the Black church, has been at the center of progress in America for some time. We're going to be talking to a Black church leader about what he's doing to organize the country, organize the Black churches to protect the vote, and make sure we have the turnout we need to have a too big to rig election. So that's tomorrow, gang. Do not miss it. Always pin that on your calendar. Wednesday's mission briefing, where we get to work, what we're up to. As always, focused on protecting the vote and focused on a too big to rig coalition. We're going to be kicking some butt tomorrow. So tune in then. Until next time, gang, I think I got it now, Maritza. I think I got the sign off now. I think it's stay loud, stay brave, and stay together. I'll see you tomorrow.